What is going on, brothers and sisters? Astrology Eric Rosen here. Wanted to pop in for a little astrology update to get you through your little holiday, Christmas, whatever you might celebrate around December 25th season. This is going to be for December 24th, really all the way through the weekend. This is a horoscope to show what's happening right now, why it's happening, the challenges, how it's good, and also what's coming. But of course, as always, if you want to get a deep astrology reading from me, want to go into your natal chart, but also how the transits are hitting your chart, especially to look at like what's coming for you in 2025. This is deep personal identification stuff and new directions and new spiritual reality that we're all going to be living in. You're probably feeling some of the pretenses of that now. So it's like if you're already feeling shook or know that there's some shifts, some breakthroughs that are going to want to happen, and you want someone to help you with that proverbial birthing process and getting clarity in that direction of leading your life, pop into that link down below. And of course, as always, if you want to just see more of the more 360 view from a sun sign perspective and not so much unique to your exact astrology, the sun and rising sign horoscopes I did for 2025 for the outer planets, Destiny, Tug of War, How to Not Play Small, and then Pluto and Aquarius for your sun sign. Well, for your sign, sun and rising sign. So let's get into it, shall we? So we are going through Capricorn season now, right? We're past the solstice. We're a few days into this Capricorn season. Rule number one, what is Capricorn, especially now without Pluto here? It's about a new plan, a new way of approaching the structures of your life. Basically, it's where you focus, your discipline, you narrow in. There's a sense of joy though, like of upliftment, of being focused. And so it's nice that, you know, Capricorn has this like piece where it at least, you know, falls around that calendar system of January 1st being Capricorn season, and people are thinking about their goals ahead, their goals in business, like what they want from the year ahead. Not so much intentions, because, you know, Capricorn's more like you got to have a plan, you got to have a strategy. But it's also not about trying to overly control it too, because the sun in Capricorn is making a quincunx over to that Mars retrograde in Leo. And so these are fated things where it's almost like you have to let a spiritual component come in of not letting your ego alone just try to like have a good time and be too kid-like and too childlike. You got to have the discipline. You got to be looking at the longer term direction of where you want to go in and getting things done. And so, you know, the holiday season, this deals with, you know, this could definitely deal with like parenting situations for sure. Like Capricorn has this like father type restrictive energy to it, and that Mars in Leo has this more like kid-like element to it. And so it's like, how do we bring both? And I think there's more of the spiritual, you know, taking deep breaths and staying focused on like what's actually right in front of us and finding the happiness, the joy, the vitality, like in the work and like in the effort. You know, it's almost like anything that you're like looking ahead and planning in your life, whether it's around some structured situation, you know, work, business, finance, you know, parenting, anything that carries a sense of responsibility that you're wanting to rise to a higher level by putting in the work, putting in the effort and discipline. It's also seeing that it's not about like waiting to find the fucking rainbow, like after you've bled yourself dry. That's not going to work. It's like finding passions in the things that you're planning and doing. It's like, it's a very like gut check energy, or even a heart check, where it's like even thinking about it, even strategizing about it, does it like lift you up, or does it feel like I have to do this thing? Because that's a red flag right there. And with Saturn being the ruling planet of Capricorn and in Capricorn season, it's over in Pisces. And so this is most definitely, as I've been mentioning, it's like we got to like drain the tank of like grief and letting go of the past failures of what that past 16 years of Pluto and Capricorn brought. There's absolutely no doubt that we had to find deep intrinsic ways of trying to rise up and be passionate, but there's just no way that we won every single, you know, battle. Like that there were lessons in defeat and having to go through these death, rebirth transformations. And so Pluto and Capricorn was always about, you still have to like keep going. And so it's like, now that it's not there, I think that this is amplifying this energy of, you know, the emotional release of the past, of grief, of sorrow, of letting go of like anything that we still feel like we want to go fix and achieve, especially with Pluto now in Aquarius and Uranus, the ruler, in Taurus. It's like, it's got to be about projects, people, value systems, ways of making money that are evolving and moving forward. And that can feel like really uncomfortable with that Pluto opposing Mars retrograde in Leo. But it's not about, you know, being scared and weak, you know, and being like the inner child that's like been abandoned or something and doesn't know what it's like to be brave or have courage. You know, Pluto in Aquarius brings up people, connections, and although Venus is going to be squaring over to Uranus, it's like this is a check of like who's in your corner. There's people that support us in our community that can reflect back to us like the tenacity that we do have when we're not feeling our best, but then also we've got to be able to see that in ourselves too. So it's not about like overly relying on people, because I think that's where shocks come in, is like, you know, people wanting to like reach for people that, especially if it's like someone from your past or something that's like, it feels like you're playing checkers when like you should just be playing like chess with the divine, of like more of a suspenseful plan of like, where's your purpose and your destiny going, knowing there's so much astrology changing over the next few months. And if you're really listening, you're probably being asked to do things that cast you into more uncertain territory than you've ever been. And that full-blown expression of that creativity and that passion, even though some people might think that you look like an idiot, because, you know, it's a plan, it's a way of showing up that's different. It's not gonna be the same as what everyone else is doing or valuing. So it's like, I mean, really, this is energy helping us step into the new year too. I know I mentioned this is for the 24th through the weekend, but also this is an uploading program. Like if you want to step into this more spiritual, high vibrational essence, like way of, you know, how do you rise above these lower dense like frequencies of fears that are probably coming next year around financial institutions, and it could be war stuff, it could be, you know, big social issues, things like that. It's being the spiritual motherfucker that just like doesn't give a fuck about like anything that's like fear-based, to like pull into that like narrative. And so with the Saturn Jupiter square, it's not even so much about creating some, you know, crazy spiritual belief that's like not factual, that things are going to all go bad or things are all going to go well, without actually having a, you know, positive, high vibrational mindset like to it. You know, this is about, I was reflected on this, you know, because there's so much mental energies like coming up in this astrology with that square, with Mercury starting to get a little faster now that it's covering more of its ground going forward in Sagittarius. And even though it's still trying to digest a lot of information, but it's like the mind is a receiver. It was always meant to be, you know, a receiver, not like the strategizer. It's weird because it's like it's the puzzle maker and the puzzle solver. It's this idea of like where we create our own problems and our, you know, relationships where we're not fully identified in the values and the things that we actually want, and we're constantly trying to figure stuff out. It's like, well, wait, if we take a step back and let the mind be a receiver and let that divine information come in that's leading us towards things that make more sense for the reality that's coming, and not so much like a fear-based like holding pattern of trying to hold on to old shit or stuff that made us feel comfortable at one time, or, you know, or it's just like tempting. It's like a temptation. This reminds me of like, even though like, you know, something is like not good, but then you get like seduced by it anyway, like with Pluto and Aquarius, where it's like, trust your first instincts. If the frequency feels off with the situation, with a person, you know, with a group of people or something you see like going on in the world, disconnect from it. If something feels alive and exciting and you're like, you know what, there's something here, then it's like you go into that thing, right? So you know, it's also not about sabotaging the progressions of things and like not doing like anything, because that's what's weird, is like there's so many checks and balances happening in this astrology, and then it's like if we feel like we're being pushed to like show up in like a new and different way that actually feels more brave and courageous, because there's a different tune to it, there's a different frequency to it, that we don't just like throw in the towel and go through some defeat, because then that pulls us out of that frequency of that expression of the creativity, the passion. You know, I put up some people maybe thought it was weird, like a video about, you know, basically being a pirate. And it's like, you know, it was basically just saying like, be a rebel, like be a fucking rebel for not even like a revolution, but an evolution of just like, are you listening? Are you paying attention? Do you know how to like receive the codes, you know, from spirit, and like, and then go, okay, I'm going to go do that thing, even though it's going to take boldness, even though it's going to take maybe telling some people to like fuck off, but also like not saying it and like getting into a fight, like picking up a dagger over it, but like more so like energetically, almost like the more rebellious, like fuck you can't do what you tell me, by like just having these strong energetic boundaries where you're in the essence of courage and you're just focused on your path and like what you're doing, to where like people are just like, oh yeah, I can't fuck with that guy or that gal, you know? And then the people that are in your corner, you know, they get closer to you because things are clicking more into place, because you're embodying more of the authenticity of self, or those people like get like weirded out, and that's when you know, you're like, ah shit, you know, our values like weren't aligned, like, or we weren't expressing, we weren't really talking about stuff, you know, we were kind of just like going with like this more like ho-hum harmony, like let's just keep the peace and like do a fucking sing-along with each other and say that everything's all good. And then it's like, is it though? And this is a hard one too, because with the value systems, it's like things on the surface can seem fine, but then it's like, it's having to like kind of like go deeper with people and be like, hey, what's the direction that we're really doing? Like, what's the real plan here? Like, where are we really like going like with this, you know, like long term? And then if that plan, that strategy, that mindset, the desired outcome like doesn't match, how the fuck's that supposed to work? Like, even if you like see eye to eye like on some things, but then you get like deeper to the roots and it's like, well, you want this outcome and I want that outcome, that just spells the eventual shock and disaster, because at some point there's going to have to be a split or a break anyway, because, you know, you or someone around you wants something different. And then, so it's Capricorn season. It's about, you know, the prudence of having a plan to like navigate the obstacles and to pay attention and strategize about these things. And there's nothing blocking it now with Pluto, or even though, you know, Pluto could have been a helper, you know, with finding that deeper spiritual resolve in ourselves. In some ways, it being like clear is just like, oh, okay, now it's just like a normal Capricorn season. Like there's not even any other planets, let alone an outer planet like Pluto here. And that it just, there's a common sense energy to it. So, and then, you know, as we're stepping into 2025, which I will cover this, we are going to have a new moon, like right basically on the new year. So of course I'll pop into other horoscopes like for that, but to get you through at least this weekend and some of the build up energy to really pay attention to, I just want to say like, it's like, it's a willingness to go wild, but it's like go wild in like the passion of like what brings you life, like what puts you in your heart, the things that, you know, move the needle forward, that it's not so much about the outcome dependence either, because Capricorn teaches us that too, that it's like, yeah, you know, I can get you what you want, but are you on the right mountain? Did you pick the wrong carrot? You're not even really passionate and happy about it, doing it anyway. And then also like, haha, you know, the master of time, the lord of karma, has got some built-in practical reality-based lessons to help you be more adult-like, in order to make sure that you're not just being some like bratty snob with that quincunx Mars retrograde in Leo, and just like a boy king or like a little spoiled princess, just like getting what you want. So it's like, it's good, reminder for Christmas that it's like, maybe in some ways, the way that we gift our energy to the world, where it's not like a giving it away type thing. We still have boundaries, but it's like the gifts to others and feeling like that we have gifts and have abundance, and that it's not coal in the stocking, comes from that literal piece of going like, are you spiritually like listening to like more of a destined path? Because like that's where like the rewards and things are really going to come in. It's not going to be the demand, the ego's expectations for having something. This is not about getting lost and feeling like something's missing, like, or a mental health issue too, of feeling like somehow the past was better, you fucked up, and that the current circumstances aren't abundant, or you don't like it. That's like tying our own shoelaces together, then trying to like walk or run and go and chase and get something. And it's like, there's deep spiritual lessons here around fulfillment, around happiness, around even trust, that as complex as things can seem, that if we keep it simple and put our passion into like what, even if things like did go like worst case scenario, that it's like, well, at least I died happy. At least I died doing what I love. And that might feel like morbid, especially like for a Christmas message, but it's like, we are headed into the most uncharted territory we've ever seen in 2025. So, I'm not going to say this is telling us what 2020 or 2021 was about. That's a long ways away, but this is more so like, in a weird way, and not, I know it sucked, but it's like in a weird way, like why it needed to happen, or why it was part of the divine plan's breakdown to create breakthroughs, like for like what comes next. So if you want to get that reading, if you want to get on one of those special horoscopes, check out those links down below. And, I've been mentioning grief, and so there's a free little short ebook that I put out, Alchemizing Grief into Manifestation. I'm hearing other people say it too, same thing I've been saying. The other channel is other astrologers, where it's like you have to let go of the past to make room for the future. And those manifestations, they don't I don't know why this is coming through. They don't fuck themselves. Like literally, like is in the metaphor of like sex being a creation energy. Like you can't embody both your masculine and feminine energy of creation, of whatever it is, and like you're manifesting something of beauty in your life, and that should definitely include connections that actually make sense for where you want to go. You can't do that when the vibe feels off. And where does the vibe get off? Well, it's typically a heart issue of like not feeling happy, not feeling like you can just be joyful, be kid-like, or it's like some subconscious thing from the past, and or both, and so that's also why too, and I'll make sure I drop the link down below. The two main things that I said about this astrology leading up into the spring is, one, the grief process, but then the other one too is timeline work for inner child, for the parts in your life where you felt like you had to close your heart. So I'll put that link down below in case you want to do some of that work as well. Let's pull some cards, shall we? It's so funny the way those cards just like flew out. It's like a little personal message for me. So we all got our own evolution right now. Like we're all being asked to do something brave, and I think we have to have compassion too for the moments where we're not forcing ourselves to do the brave thing if we don't feel like we have it like in us, but then also like not faking it either, and still like doing what we can. This is about still having a connection to that feminine, beautiful, compassionate, graceful energy, to not beat ourselves up, but then at the same time, open our hearts and find a loving, passionate, courageous way to do something that transcends paradigms. basically, because that's part of what we're doing. We're like peeling back some really, really, really deep old, I don't want to, old's the word, but just there is a shedding of layers going on, that there's so many things happening on a cosmic level that there's just a lot more that you're going to be seeing these next few months, that it's going to seem like a whole new world. So, well, what the hell are we doing here? We got the Eight of Cups. So this is that card of like, like, let me still try to find that emotional fulfillment. I'm still attached to something from the past, even though, I've sipped it. I thought it was going to be refreshing. I thought it was water, and it's like the fucking, shit that the mouse and Dumbo drank and got drunk, and hallucinogens. And then it's like getting pulled into like old addictive patterns, that it's like giving us like something to do. Like, let me just like turn and like walk away from it and be like, yeah, I'm done with that thing. But then like turn around and like go back to it. And maybe even if there is like some emotional fulfillment, there's no progression. Like, it's interesting, you look at the card, even it's like the way there's these two pillars here, and it's like the cups are stacking up, and it's like there's no way to like really go back. Like, it's like trying to go for something from the past that's emotionally fulfilling. Like, even that in itself like blocks even understanding and like seeing the past clearly for what it is. And so the guy's got a little pyramid in the background. You could probably go fucking channel some cool shit, like from the Arcturians or someone, to find out where's his future reality going. But painful endings. This could be anything. This could be literally just with that Saturn Jupiter square, there's just not enough of something, or the tradition, the nostalgia, the feel good Christmas Eve holiday energies just not there. I feel like this is like breakups for a lot of people. I've been talking to a lot of people where it's just like hard, messy, all of a sudden out of nowhere, like triggers, and with the Mars retrograde, of people just like pulling away. So, the good news is like what comes before this is the Nine of Swords, where it's like all about like anxiety and worry about an ending, and at least there's a fucking ending, as painful as it may be. So I think people need to watch out for, it's going to be it's going to be a shock with that Venus Uranus square. If it's something that you keep like trying to do, that's just not part of the reality going forward. Ten of Pentacles in reverse. So, typically this card speaks to like a family loss, fortune, like dark side of wealth type thing. So it's almost like we're wanting something that's going to give us this like feel good, like family, like rainbow, but it's a physical thing, piece that's going to make us happy and fulfilled. But it's just not, this is not energy to like try to fill a void of something physical that feels like it's like missing in your life, because it's like that's not going to go into a good place. It's going to go into a better space for the willingness to go, okay, let me find the happiness and the fulfillment in the moment. Temperance card reverse. It's not about going into extremes. These are imbalanced situations. I feel like this is also a communication situation. So communications that like need to happen, or, just, this is hard because like some of this astrology is like really faded to where some of the unpredictable outcomes that we don't think will happen, and then vice versa. It's like, I don't think that could happen, and then like it does. And so, but then everything circumstantially says, well, it's gonna go this way. So it's like, I think there is some like minor optimism we can have with that Mercury and Sagittarius too, where it's just like, okay, well, there are possibilities, there are different ways this could go. Like, it doesn't have to go the same way, but then if it does, like, I'm okay with that. So I think this is about detaching from the past, like just get over the endings, rip off the fucking band-aids, have these conversations that are not gonna end in just the good, feel-good nature that people are seeking anyway, where in some ways too, it's like, I think we all have to ask ourselves, are we actually seeking that, or is it just seeking like some comfort zone to carry out some dramatic situation in life that we just for some reason love to use as a distraction? Because to fucking be a badass, spiritual, potent, strong person that embodies a mission is something that can feel very, very dangerous to that ego mind that wants to go, well, wait, like, don't I get to do this thing still or that thing still? Or can this thing still stay the same? Or can I still talk to this person? Or can I still be around these people or these situations? And it's like, it's a reality check. Is it making you happy? That's the big question. So appreciate you all, and see you for the next horoscope.